What's up, y'all? I'm back out here on the range again, as you can see, on another cold sunny day. Temps have just about crept up above freezing. I think they just now passed freezing, so shouldn't be too terrible out here as long as the wind stays calm. I don't have any jelly testing on the agenda, but I do have a couple new tools to have some fun with. I've got me a 30 carbine loadout, starting with the Auto Ordnance M1A1 Paratrooper model. And then, if we got to move to the sidearm, we've got the Ruger Blackhawk Liberty Edition. Not too bad. All right, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time talking about these things since I've got two of them to run rounds through out here, but we will just take a quick look at them and talk about them really fast. So the first one here, again, what we got is the Auto Ordnance M1 Carbine. To be more specific, it's the M1A1 Paratrooper model. Now, again, this thing's been around forever. Now, obviously, this is a repro. You can get the original GI Milsurp ones here and there, but they are very expensive right now. So I don't have any kind of like attachment or anything to the M1 carbine. I mainly wanted to get one to do some gel testing with, and since I was going to get one, I figured I'd get this Paratrooper model because I just think it's a really cool look with this folding stock on it. So speaking of that, that's one of the biggest differences right here, is that folding stock. As you can see, metal frame, it's got the metal butt pad on the back, a little piece of leather. Now this thing doesn't actually lock in either direction, and it's that way. The originals are the same way, but it does have detent. It's got a spring detent, so it locks in pretty good in that detent, but you just simply push it forward and then you'll feel it lock in again. That little butt plate up there kind of swivels to get a little bit flatter down to the stock. So that's definitely what gives this one the cool factor to me, this Paratrooper model. And just like it says, it was issued out to paratroopers mainly, just because it's really small and compact. Now, the M1 carbine in general, it's been around since World War II, like 1941. These Paratrooper models, I believe, were 1942, and these in particular were only made by General Motors Inland Division. As far as the regular M1 carbines with the full wood stock, there's several different places that made those. I don't know that Auto Ordnance actually made a full rifle at all, but they made parts for pretty much all the rest of the manufacturers. Now, obviously, it's chambered in 30 carbine, straight wall cartridge. If y'all aren't familiar with it, I believe it's 7.62 by 33 also is the size on it. What this was really sort of meant for, they were getting feedback before the war that some of the troops couldn't carry all the big full-size stuff, all the different weight, all the ammo. They wanted something really compact, especially for more of the support troops like radio men, stuff like that. Something really compact, something that had a little bit more range than like the Tommy guns, and that had a little bit more penetration and velocity. And this is what they got. Very lightweight here. It's half the weight of the Tommy gun, so they definitely met the weight thing. As far as the ballistics on it, you're talking about a 110 grain projectile moving just a little under 2,000 feet per second, right at 2,000 feet per second. So you're talking about just a little under 1,000 foot-pounds of energy from this. Now, obviously, this one is semi-auto. All of the original M1 carbines were semi. The M2 designation, that's when they went with select fire. And I think later on, a lot of the M1s were converted to select fire. Now, you got an 18-inch barrel on here. As you can see, really nice walnut wood stock here. It's very reminiscent, kind of like a little mini Garand. It's got the rotating kind of flat bolt on the top with what you could call an op rod right here. Short stroke gas piston. Your piston somewhere around in this area here goes down. Obviously, you know how a gas piston works. So really reminiscent of an M1 Garand as far as the bolt and the kind of look and feel of it, but not really similar that much. Now, the M1 carbine went through several different changes, several different iterations. I'm not going to go through all of that. This Auto Ordnance repro is more reminiscent of the very early ones with the push button safety here. they did change that to a flip style because your mag release is right there, and they were finding that some people were dropping their mag instead of putting the thing on ready to roll. As far as the sights, this is the very early peep sight. You got two different aperture flip ups. Now the apertures are the same size, but you can see there the height of them is different. So the shorter one's supposed to be, I think, either out to 100 or 150 yards, and then the higher one's supposed to be out to 300 yards. The max practical range of this, I believe they call 200 yards, but they say the max effective range is 300 yards. And as far as grouping, they were only looking for like a 3 to 5 MOA out there with this thing. Now, one of the changes, I don't know if I mentioned already, they made was the rear sight here to put something fully adjustable, because you got no elevation adjustment on this. And this one actually is hitting lower than I like, so I'm having to cover up more of my sight picture, but there's literally nothing you can do about it. You can just use one of those two peeps, but that's it. And the last couple little things to mention, you got a 15 round mag here, and this thing actually does have a bolt hold open. It's not a last round bolt hold open, but you can see the little button there on the top. You pull your bolt or your bolt carrier back, and it locks open like that. To send it home, you just pull it back. And I said last thing, but let's look at the trigger right quick. Let's see what kind of pull. I mean, it's lighter than an AR. It's lighter than an AR. Nice, decent reset. Not real clicky of a reset. Not bad though. And really probably 4.5 pounds, probably 4.5 pounds would be my guess. And then since there really aren't that many factory loaded 30 carbine defensive type rounds to do testing with, I figured I better get a different barrel length, so I got me a sidearm here. What we got here is the Ruger New Model Blackhawk. Now, New Model Blackhawk is very kind of misleading, the term that they use, new model, because a lot of people would think new like a couple years old, but this is actually the Liberty Model Edition. This is 1976 is when this one was made. So new model goes all the way back, I think, to the 60s. It's just, they're talking about if there's some changes. I don't know all the exact stuff, but the new model I know has the transfer bar right there. I think the original didn't have a transfer bar. I didn't do a bunch of studying on this because mainly, again, I want this for some gel testing. And I figured if I was going to get one, these are not being made new produced anymore. I figured I might as well get the fancy Liberty edition of it. And I'm saying fancy Liberty model, but the only really difference in them is on the top of the barrel. It's stamped made in the 200th year of American Liberty. So pretty cool though, I think, to have that on there. And again, it's a 1976 bicentennial made. But as you can see here, really nice older bluing on it. Got the nice walnut grips on it. This is a 7.5 inch barrel, and it is a single action only. You can see your loading gate there, spinning around, obviously single action, and you do have your ejector rod on the side. But that's all the talking about them I'm gonna do. I got a few different rounds out here. Mainly I'm gonna be running this FMJ Arms Core 110 grain, but I also have some of this Winchester 110 grain hollow soft point, and then a little bit of this Hornady Critical Defense FTX to have some fun with. All right, let's go ahead and put us a few groups out there at distance. I'm gonna do some 50 and 75 groups. I already know I can get up close, so that ain't no issue. I'm pretty sure I can group decent out here at 50 and 75, but I'm curious where at with the hold I've kind of figured out. That was pretty quick, but I just wanted to see how I could do it kind of quick. All right, that's actually not too bad right there. Let's move it on out to the 75. I think I know where I need to hold this thing now. That was a little off right there. All right, I don't think I'd win any kind of accuracy contest right there, but that's actually not too bad. Yeah, a little bit low because, again, I'm having to hold high. I'm kind of having to cover my picture with that blade up there, but that's not too bad. I may could just flip up that longer range sight even here at a distance and compensate for that a little bit. All right, those groups weren't too awful bad down there for never being behind this thing and not really having much adjustment. So I'm actually going to try this higher height aperture here. I'm going out to 100, see if we can do anything out there with this higher one. I may have to switch back. This may not be the answer, but we'll see what it does. That wasn't hitting. Switch back to the little one. I don't think that's the problem, but let's see. There we go. I'm not sure. I barely tinked. I could hear that. All right, so those last one were no problem. Those first two I ran with the higher aperture were off. I don't know if that was the aperture height or me. I'm gonna run a few more at 100. After looking through the binoculars there, I think I was just compensating wrong with that higher aperture. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, I think that's all it was. That ain't too bad out there at 100 with just these very rudimentary iron sights that I really can't even adjust. All right, let's run us a few rounds through the old Blackhawk. I've got a couple of half frozen 2 liters down there. The first round's just that Arms Corps FMJ, and then I put one of these hollow soft points in behind that, this Winchester. Let's see what the difference is here. Whoo-wee, I tell you what, that glare, I got a vicious glare on my front sight ramp on the red part, kind of like happens with my 686. I mean, it is incredibly blinding glary, y'all. See what I can do. I think I just winged the thing, hit it on the bottom, looks like. Let's move it up some. I can't see anything hardly, y'all. Whoo! All right, that's more like it. Let me see if that green one's got anything left in it. All right, I got us a couple cans of shaving cream out there now. Those usually make a pretty good show. More of these hollow soft points is what I've got in here. Whew, that glare is incredibly bad, y'all. That wasn't very exciting. That one was a little bit better. And a surprise boom boom. All right, I swapped this over to a couple of watermelons this time. I'm gonna send one through the Blackhawk and then one through the M1 Carbine. And I've got a bottle up there too I'm gonna hit with the carbine afterwards because I'm gonna try these critical defense. We hadn't done a bottle with these. These are 110 grain also, but you know it's got the FTX projectile. They're saying 2,000 feet per second from these, but that's out of a 20-inch barrel. So let's see what they do to the watermelons anyway. Whoo, it took care of that one for sure. Let's see what this carbine does. Good gracious, y'all, it obliterated that thing. Let me put the bottle back up. All right, let's see what it does with the bottle. I can see why they like this thing close up. It definitely delivers a nice little punch of energy up close. All right, I had to set us up another one of them watermelons. I actually got it spiced up down there with some boom booms too. A lot of times those boom booms don't like to cooperate on melons, but hopefully this will be different. No, it got the melon for sure, but not the boom boom. All right, I recovered the boom booms and stuck them back down there at 25 yards. So let's see what we can do with them down there on the steel. That's more like it. All right, y'all, my fingers are starting to get numb out here, so that's telling me it's time to wrap this show up. So let's see if we can get us a good finale to end it out with. That's the way to do it right there. All right, y'all, I got you a bonus boom boom here that was actually left over from the finale, so I'm gonna just put it in here randomly somewhere. Couldn't let that go to waste. All right, y'all, I had a heck of a fun time out here today with my new 30 carbine loadout, but I'm gonna call it right there for this first outing. I think both of these things are really, really cool. Now, if I had to take my pick of which one I like better, it's gonna be this carbine right here. I'm just more of a carbine person in general, but this Blackhawk is very, very cool. And the funny thing about it is you're running that 30 carbine high pressure round out of a revolver, but the recoil is nothing on this thing. I mean, incredibly mild. Now, this is a heavy piece, but very mild recoiling. It's definitely going to be interesting to see some gel tests with this thing, and I've got a couple of verses already in mind, but let me know down in the comments if y'all got something in mind you'd like to see this 30 carbine go up against. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you take a second and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you've got your notifications turned on so you hopefully get notified when I upload stuff. Big thanks as always to all my range gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. Definitely a lot of fun out here, and I'm really looking forward to doing some gel tests with this 30 carbine, so y'all stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.